Waki Sho Ra Mum Om Waki Shoramam 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 Om Waki Shoramam.
Herzlich willkommen, guten Morgen zu der großen Yamantaka Teachings. So everybody, welcome to this great Yamantaka Empowerment in Munich. Rinpoche hat gerade angedeutet, bitte steht nicht auf und einfach bleibt in Meditation, wenn er den Raum verlässt oder kommt. So Rinpoche gave just now the sign. You please stay in the meditation when he's coming and when he leaves, okay? And then I still have some announcement. We distributed the texts, the prayer books, so please give them back after the session. When you want to buy them, they are available in the shop. So, wir haben Texte verteilt, die Gebetsbücher. Bitte gebt sie zurück nach der Session. Wenn ihr die kaufen wollt, sind die im Shop bereitgestellt für euch. Dann bitte keine Tonaufnahmen, keine Videoaufnahmen und keine Fotos. So please, no video recordings, no recordings and no photographs. And then we have for no German speaker, we have the headsets, so you can take them from the Technik stand. Und bitte, wenn ihr Deutsch versteht, dann überlässt die Kopfhörer den Englisch bzw. Russisch Sprechenden. Okay? Dann ist es die Bitte, also unsere Kassen sind nicht übersehbar. Falls jemand doch irgendwie nicht bezahlt hat, bitten wir das zu tun. Es schafft ein schlechtes Karma. And also unsere cashier desks are in the front. When you still didn't have the opportunity to pay, so please do it after session. This is a bad karma when you do not do it. Okay. Und dann noch das Essen, das Mittagessen. Es ist nur möglich für die Essensmarken erworben haben. Und es gibt keine mehr. So the lunch, please go only when you just only have a ticket for the lunch. There are no more to buy. So only for people they are already registered. Das sage ich nochmal wegen der Karma-Yoga-Liste, habe ich gestern schon, glaube ich, erwähnt. Also Karma-Yoga-Liste hängt dann bei den Toiletten. Die Toiletten müssen geputzt werden. Es muss hier im Saal auch geschaut werden, dass es sauber ist. So bitte schaut dort, die Reinigungssachen, die werden da bereitgestellt. Auch eben da bei den Toiletten. So the Karma Yoga list is hanging at the toilets doors, and then please when you want to help, so takes one job, toilets cleaning, or here in our room, and this things for cleaning they will be there. Okay. So I wish you a very, very blessing, empowerment, and stay in Munich. Ich wünsche euch eine wunderbare Ermächtigung, segensreiche und ein wunderschönes Verbleiben in München. Dankeschön.
Om Vageshwaramo, 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 산제 교당 소견 교나 한주 만드 나네 접선치 단견정 선진별 소남제 도란 펜스르산 rum바라쇼 산제 교당 소견 교나 한주 만드 나네 접선 당근진 소진별 소남 로란 펜스르 산진정 바라쇼 산제 교당 소진 교나 한종 번도 나네 접선 당근진 소진별 소남 로란 펜스르 산진정 바라쇼 사견 벼져서 연매돈라 해라를 연연대전바 산제향라매된 불화이 로건한다히 하쇼 샘전남제삼반당 로예세라전다 제종대몽대바예 제정호 꼴로
메주지 저 보러내서 사지 그 정호에라서 조금 고송도 되고 잡을는 잡아서 네 스스로가 좀더 추진치 야송을 본쇼가지라서 생기는 데는 다지나 담바 추진님서 살도서 되게 좋은 말아 네 이제 뭐또 되게 가시왕에 하고만 되게 가도도 완전히 완벽히 소리 그래서 다 라마체에서 원들 같이 그랬습니다. 어들이 고도 타마냐 그래요 그래. 네. 저땅 시중 어두데 시지 그래 어두지나 제야 요리데 그냥 다 시중 어두지나 저땅 산지게 냄바니 되게 어두지나 약사래 냄바니 고속 좋아만 보이고 냄바니 오 그쪽부터는 되니까 산지 생기 니요래 나지 니요래 동남은 나지 니 메이소 뒤자와는 마시나 되게 pen 갔다 요래 되게 것도 좀 들어와 매봐 동남 또 많이 되게 pen 갔다 쳐보 요래 되게 리리소 욕돼 나빠 사집에 채취들어요래 대 마시는 때니 오 시어들 세지 sab지 되어는데 라고도 다시 이제 소주 사소 타통 다시 러서 사다소로 딱 그리 네 고학생들하고 고려를 대지 성도 욕식을 얘기지 뭐래 대모도 하고 선나 근데 뭐 원래 샤샤하다고 이제 봐 내반이 성도 좀 고트거리 당아 용이 요 말에 나 농대에서 라마 남이기 탐지 소를 때에서 하고요 내가 거래 하고 돼서 라고
So, my Dhamma friends, this morning I'm supposed to give an introduction on Yamantaka, although I didn't actually know that before. I thought this morning there will be just the self-empowerment, but now Laman Sereng just told me that actually there's also a teaching, and actually that's not a problem for me, but maybe you had to wait for a little bit. But so anyways, now when we were to give an introduction to Yamantaka, of course that can be done, but I feel that at this point it might be also better to also give a brief introduction to the twofold truth, because regarding that actually a lot of questions arise. So on the relative level, it is said that there are Buddhas and sentient beings, there is self and other. And on the ultimate level, self and other are non-dual. And if one doesn't understand this basis, then that can lead to a lot of contradiction and misunderstanding. Because on the one hand, we say that karma is infallible, on the other hand, we say that everything is empty. So there seems to be a contradiction. Actually, a special feature of the Buddha's teachings is the union of the twofold truth. But if you don't understand that, then on the one hand you hear that when we say may all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, on the other hand we speak about Yamantaka, where we talk about slaying and killing and drinking blood and eating flesh and things like that. So there seems to be quite some contradiction here. So it's therefore very important that we really know how to combine, how to bring into union the twofold truth, because then everything will become clear. And when you really understand that point, then in the future, no matter what you practice, a peaceful or wrathful deity, you will never see a contradiction because you have understood the union of the twofold truth. So I myself do not have a lot of great qualities. I do not have much learning. All I have really is some experience, and also I have the instructions from experienced gurus.
치와를 잡더니 중앙했더니 최대 지느냐 봐. 여기 제삼지 세물지는 세물들이 찍니 오 말이. 오. 사사지 심지냐 찍봐도 오 말이 들이 내놓기서가 들이 고와되는 저로라고 차대요래. 나중에 이제는 차롱라고 차대요. 상지 그 생기 상지부터 차롱도 쉬어내더니 양치 쳐다 찍봐요. 상지가 뭐랑 돼. 상지가 님에 가지고 차롱 타게 처리해야 돼. 뒤뒤 쉬어 탑들었더니 다 탑나만 나서거든요. 레나만 나서 싸요. 멍쪽 레나만 나서 때 차라만 뭐 뒤를 이런들이 모르서 그러니까 봐요. 상지비만 못 배워 되게 그런 시지 주보고 주 마신 자만 여기 님서 주 첫쪽 동는이 다 레위더니 책을 얘기를 쳐티고서 첫쪽 동들이 사를 이래서 주 장매 봐요. 까박 장매 봐라 상지 장매 배송에 망보 요리 망보 천 놀리나 다 니만이 마도 사지 생긴 님마도 가가니 차로도 천이 이와라고 하고는 대학원 오 들이 코 늘럭 들이 주고는 들이 사지를 이렇게 좀 안 좋은 손에 이제 주시나 오 주상 사지 삼체대 세대 이제 공인 송자의 세대 공인 이시대 토그라데스 등님들 늘 말이죠. 사지 삼체 속시는 자면 이시 이제는 이시는 니로 말 나가는 니로 이제도 하고는 신지 이시그라서 잡이 양을 대나 사이시와 탐시 사직을 사만두고요. 뭐 시지 찍고요 말이야. 사이시와 탐시 사직을 다 사마상을 대하고는 대 동당군이 대 사직을 다 사마상고요. 대 신지 양들이 주습지 사지 탐시 상고요. 대 가르상 센터를 상고요.
So in any ways, I'm sharing whatever I do know to the best of my abilities. And so regarding the practice and the union of the twofold truth, so right now we see a duality of self and other, and that is due to a diversity in form and bodies. And so from that perspective, there is an appearance of limitless forms in the 6 realms of samsara. And all of these forms are a manifestation of the 6 afflictive emotions. So sentient beings are limitless. And some beings are as large as a mountain, and some are as small as a water particle. And then when you look at their mind, within their mind, actually, there is no duality. There is just one mind. So when you really understand the nature of mind, you understand that the Buddha's mind or the deity's mind and the sentient being's mind is a single one. Samsara is like a block of ice, and that is due to the clinging to a self-other duality. And so to melt this ice block, the Buddha had taught various methods, having realized that ice can be melted. That's the aspiration of the Buddha. And so there are various different methods because there are a limitless number, 84,000 different afflictive emotions, and corresponding to that, there are limitless different antidotes, different teachings. So countless Buddhas have appeared in countless aeons to teach those methods to melt that ice block. For example, there is the Yamantaka Tantra, and that itself already consists of 16,000 chapters, and then within each of those chapters you have further subdivisions of many hundreds of thousands, so it is really actually limitless, even within one deity, the exposition of a single deity. And then there is many deities. So coming back to the twofold truth, there is the Buddhas and sentient beings, and the only difference between them is just like that between water and ice. So if you understand that, you know that the basis is the same. So regarding Yamantaka, for instance, within his mind, all of the minds of all the Buddhas of the 3 times is complete. Actually, in the Tantras, in his Tantra, it says that within me all the Buddhas abide. And that is within his mind, the primordial wisdom. Within that mind, all Buddhas abide. So within the expanse of primordial wisdom, there is no duality. All the Buddhas are one. Just like in space, there is no duality. So Yamantaka's nature is that of a wisdom being, the wisdom being Manjushri. And within that, all deities are complete. So if you understand this single essential nature, then whatever deity you practice, you know that within that one deity, all the Buddhas, all the deities are complete. And so likewise, within Yamantaka's nature, also all the Buddhas after 3 times are complete. So they are complete within the mind of non-dual primordial wisdom.
jeweils Gegenmittel gegen all die umgekehrten Arten von Geistesstörungen darstellen. Die große Menge dieser Information ist unüberschaubar gewaltig. Das heißt, dass wenn man alleine den Yamantaka Tantra nimmt, nur mal als ein Beispiel, und ich selber hatte gar nicht die Gelegenheit, das in vollem Umfang kennenzulernen, dann heißt es, dieser Grundtantra, nur allein das Yamantaka, enthält über 60.000 Worte. So, und das ist nur ein kleiner Aspekt von all dem, was gelehrt ist. Und ich selber hatte nicht die Gelegenheit, alle diese kennenzulernen. Das soll nur zeigen, dass in der Ausführlichkeit, wo jede Botschaft des Buddha ein Gegenmittel gegen verschiedene Arten von Geistesstörungen darstellt, eine unglaubliche Menge jeweils hilfreich zur Verfügung gestellt wird. Auf der anderen Seite zusammengefasst ist der Kern der Botschaft immer die zwei Gültigkeiten. Das dem Anschein nach, da wo wir nicht wahrnehmen, was unsere Grundbeschaffenheit ist, wir wie eingefroren, wie Wasser zu Eisklumpen geworden sind, und von der Grundnatur, aber all dieses Wasser nur ein Wasser ist. Eis ist von jeher immer schon Wasser. Diese beiden Gültigkeiten sind die Grundaussage, und diejenigen, die diese Aussage vermitteln, die Buddhas, sind Verkörperungen solcher Weisheit. Weisheit, die diese Tatsache klarlegt. Man spricht von Urbewusstheit oder ursprünglicher Weisheit, und Buddhas sind Erscheinungen dieser Verkörperung, dieser ursprünglichen Weisheit. In dem Sinne sind auch alle Buddha-Gestalten, die in dieser Welt erscheinen, alle Aspekte davon, die verschiedenen Weisheitsgottheiten, im Kern nur die Repräsentation dieser Weisheit. Nicht nur, dass alle friedlichen Gottheiten einer Natur sind, sondern alle Arten von Repräsentation von Buddha erwachen, sind letztlich nur Manifestationen dieser einen Weisheit, die diese Botschaft versucht zu vermitteln, dass wir in unserer Grundbeschaffenheit eigentlich Buddha erwachen sind und das aus der Klammer der verschiedenen Gemütsstörungen herausfinden müssen.
真是他这个小娃子找不人都小娃子冲我，你这七八刚热的呢，你他男主人把那个说他的伤心，说他的伤心啊，小娃个我小娃个男人，这上下就找不男人的呢，这找不的那么说呢，他找不的空手男人没事了，当身为空手男人的，这嘛的女的出发的，啥出我那边的呢？ 말을 빼줄람 말았지 말아 사오 보고서 그런데 제가 양은 나사 독자로 돼 짝도 제거 빼세서 산지 니지 출발을 세상을 추들 초직장이와 말이다 어때 하고 그랬지.
So basically all the deities are divided into 2 classes. Either they are peaceful or wrathful. And what's the difference between them? Now, on the different levels of the path, for example, on the path of individual liberation and the bodhisattva paths, that path is by nature peaceful. So it is a peaceful path. And the Vajrayana path of secret mantra is more a wrathful path. And now speaking about this term wrathful, some people might understand that to be something that has to do with aggression and hatred and so forth, animosity. But that's not at all what it is here in the context of the deity. The deity is more infuriated with compassion. For example, just like a mother often has to be wrathful with a naughty child, or when someone has a very terrible illness, they have to undergo a surgery and so on. So it is important, first of all, to understand that the wrath of the deity is not an ordinary form of hatred or anger, but it is an infuriated and even more intense form of compassion.
데리다다 라시와 소장님들이 먹거든 니몽심 제 집에서 찾아로서 니몽 좋아들 소장님 남들이 먹거든 삼바트 배가 삼바는 hin지 거는들이 좁아 발신 쪽 거는들이 생기서 민주 쫓다고요. 그랬더니 니몽 ram진지 니몽 ram진 시바 모시는 마시는 니몽 받자들이 실이 시죠. 니몽과 공 ram진 가가 용마상하게 다 니몽 ram진 시바를 시절을 들이빼나 다사 주보나 야 니몽 받면 계단이 이시기 ben다 단지 니미와 하고니 가자 이렇게 다 동다 대바 하고 우리 동다 대바 하고 되는 시그 단지 니면은 이리 데려 또 차당 제시 요리 요말 끼끼네 요말 때문에 차대 요리 이 샘남 하나 이 차대 요리 데려 유모가 갈게를 끼와든지 라미를 데 샤고 짤저는 저저 요리 배나 배 차잖아 야 공자 실리를 미치 세상 최고들 나나 진 세상은 저리 세상 삼아 이 남도 삼아 또로 세상 치고로 남도 직접에 차들 들이 세근이로 이제 서울에 하고 세상 빼편성지 하하 세상을 빼야고도 없어 들이 문이 세상에서 요원 말고 니지미들 바로 열라서 세상면은 대해서 다 초들 남상들이 니몽 뭐 중점하고 들이 니몽 록다 사주 좁을 거라 삼살로 어디들이 이몽 남지 시바지 배네 파카고는 이몽 벌 나진이지 요거는 그 많은 누가 땅성 다들 공부하면 대다 편승이가 다 되고 요 공부되게 무보던 심해지는 공부하는 심지사비 대서 주바 니지 요배 오다 세단자 뮤직이 다 삼지데 세고는 다들 삼지 하게 세고 다 세고 세는 유모 같은 세고 그래서 오다 수트들 남과그 미치면 다 잘면서 이렇게 오마디 카가 수트 저거서 가리지 차차디 도와줬다 유모마 줬다 내기 오래 다시 이제 말을 이렇게 차라죠 짜리요 뒤나 인지를 빼라 또 차차 세나사 시랑을 봐 다세라고 유몽 쪽 라지 내 지금 뭐들 내나 어떻게 되나 기는데 이제 라지가 됐어 주고서 세게 됐어 이제 차차를 봐서 유모고 뭐라들이 시발하고 사송지 이걸 하세는 시발하고 되지 뭐 라지가 다진지가 하고서 또다 내방 모두도 되지 나디데 다시 그걸 말도 중문이 메시야 요 말이 심지 그 자세는 자세고 자세나 사지게 저기 그 자세디 메시 로세 그거지 생듯이 요 말이 삭디 세당 치네 양짤 끼와는 누 데려 또 받지요 그러지 라마 로로스 봐 사지에서 말이 그래도 미 유모가 세고 다들 나와 다 거기서 유모가 삼아서 그걸 다시 마세 그때 세번 오라 그때 남바 차차를 봐 내외 띵오라 그때 초밥 받고 그러면 문의지는 나와 미치게 세요 말 비세서 유모가 랑지 시바하고 그래서 초 유모가 중심하고 배는 유모 계속 있으죠 대장이 초 대라리 일단 조금 차차들 풍부되지 루이들 다 진짜 저번들은 용어로 초발을 쳐봤지 뭐요래 대삼지 찐 것들이 다 노도로 차대요 대삼지들은 반초반벌들이 랑가 당지에서 또 총도 손나 그래서 이 용어 초 랑지들은 용어요래 대하고는들이 오 산촉섬 이미 나진이 먹을 삼형제 공고도 없지 다 나진이 와서 유모가 누가면서 제가 하고서 초고지 저한테 초기 치발세리 그 초고를 차차 주고지 동장 때리
And so regarding now the peaceful and deities, we have said it corresponds to the path of the individual liberation or the bodhisattva path. And so here we, in a peaceful, gentle manner, pacify the afflictive emotions by recognizing their nature. So on those levels of the path, one cultivates immeasurable love and compassion and practices the 6 paramitas. And in this way, sentient beings are ripened and then liberated. So here we must recognize that the nature of the afflictions is actually primordial wisdom. When one doesn't recognize that, then they are just ordinary afflictions. And so in the Vajrayana path, we recognize that there are no separately existing afflictive emotions. Their nature is awareness, actually. So regarding the wrathful deities, now we when an afflictive emotion arises, like anger, in the mind of someone who had understood that self and other do not exist, so someone who had understood the ultimate truth, to them there actually is no separate object of anger, no recipient really, and even the one who is getting angry does not really exist. So the mind just abides like space. And in that way, then, whatever affliction arises, it actually then becomes a natural power. It enhances the power of awareness even further. So someone who meditates in such a way, when strong anger arises, actually the anger has a very special power. It is so powerful that it destroys all other thoughts. So when it arises, all other thoughts are destroyed, and you come to the natural state of the mind. And then you realize that actually this emotion of anger had actually helped me greatly. It really had enhanced the clarity of my mind, enhanced the strength of my practice. Actually, anger does not really exist. There is no real anger. There is no real object of one's anger. So the essence of the wrathful deity is that the moment an emotion, an affliction arises in the mind, one does not even go as that far as to think, one doesn't even have to contemplate the fault of the affliction. As it arises instantly, it turns into an enhancement of mental clarity as it arises. Because as it arises, you recognize that its very nature is primordial wisdom. Now, for the time being, for as long as we see a duality of self and other, we think that there are real afflictions. We get angry at someone. For example, we say that he is hurting me. And with that anger, we are actually hurting one another. So that's an ordinary anger that arises out of belief in a substantial outer world that exists separately from yourself. And that is the confusion of sentient beings. And so now in the wrathful practices, when we speak about slaying and killing enemies and obstructors and sorcerers and so forth, what is really meant with that is not slaying or killing a person, a being, but to destroy their afflictive emotions. So within Buddhism, actually, there is no killing and slaying of anyone. Even though verbally that is being said in those practices, what is really meant with that is the slaying of the afflictive emotions. So there are, for example, in the Yamantaka practice, 6 body parts that are mentioned as an offering. And it is said that within these 6 body parts, the 6 afflictions naturally abide. So actually these body parts then have the essence of the afflictions. And by offering them to Yamantaka and him eating it, these afflictions then are destroyed. For example, blood is related to desire, or greed is related to the channels, or bones is related to hatred, and so forth. So these are being offered in the form of flesh, blood, and bones, having the nature of the afflictions to the wisdom deity, who then eats them. And in that way, the affliction becomes destroyed, and one realizes the non-duality of self and other. So ultimately what really happens is a slaying of self-grasping and not of a person. So actually the Buddha himself had said that if you try to kill someone, it is just like killing a corpse. Actually, you can't really kill a corpse, they're already dead to begin with. you can really only, what really has to be killed is the self-grasping within their mind. And so, because if you just kill somebody's body, the person will die with even stronger anger and will take birth again, and it will only get worse. This is what is meant with these offerings of flesh, blood, and bones. And so we need to recognize that the nature of the afflictive emotion is primordial wisdom, and as it arises when we practice the wrathful deity, without even having to think about the fault of the affliction, it already instantly transforms into primordial wisdom. And so this instant fierce transformation is the essence of the wrathful deity. And the most important Mara that we correspond to this practice is the Mara of the aggregates. And that is because we have a very strong attachment to our body. And because of that, we cling to the pleasures of the five senses. And because of this clinging attachment to the sense pleasures, we have created this solidified body that appears as this piece of matter. So by offering it, then self-grasping diminishes and the 6 afflictive emotions are disappear. So when you understand that, then you know how to approach this practice. So it begins with having a basis of altruism, bodhicitta, and for as long as we do see a duality of self and other, it is important to make an effort to develop immeasurable love and compassion. But once you have really understood that self and other do not exist separately, then you really can understand how there are no real afflictive emotions that exist. The afflictions don't really exist. So basically that's the difference between the peaceful and the wrathful deities, and that's also the reason why we are making these offerings of flesh, blood and bones in the context of the wrathful deities.
Nindada 상지 주발하더니 사지 구성을 다니서 사지가 공방 톱차는 죽어도 남과다 들이다가 라마 교신이 탑지 죽어도 상지에서 사지 탑지 죽어서 남과를 예배가 차도 그래 들이지 공로부 톡 흥지 치고 대시랑 위에는 남과라 빈당 자송 니들이 라진들이 로트도 고생하고 상황 상을 받아 무슨 들이 살에다 상황 다 로트도 고생인데 죽어다 다 로그냐 다고차 이 쪼거성들이 무슨들이 들자 심지 들고나 이 하자들이 심지 로알도 심지 담지 용 어떤 쉐치를 내가 막들이 로알도 차오나 무슨 도치를 되나 이 들고들 쪼거들이 로알도 소시 매지 적세 전도 들이 적거들랑 적거들 거기 박관장 말하더니 쪼거고 무슨들이 산지 좀 되게 주는 걸로 거들이 얘네들 야바양들 매지 적들 요래 네베세 제즈 그래잖아 야바양 얘네들 사람들이 네세 제에서 콜린수 주만 보고나 양 나니들이 산지 통제하더니 또 나가더니 상하 다소들 네베세 제에서 야 주시와 빠져서 그 공을 sem지 봐야네요. 제가 주시야. 그 사지 제시 이발들 sem지만 보면 좋아로 배대요. 다다디 뒤진도 아니고 시스템 들었더니 다다 답을이나 내가 봤던 게 사지 나오는 대략 참아거든요. 같이 거기 또 제가 최선을 때 총산했더니 최소 총총견을 계획이니를 들은 거기 좀 나지 참지 this is reality. One is thinking about one major to which that our their hardcore of the knee. Look at the knee, nor to chop the hardcore to be your. There's the source of the look at the mammy, made the simply touch them, send the Nekamami by metal, Sawong Tower, or Till Mina, Military Young Teeth in metal, Young Teeth, some Jaguary. There's one to Gonita, the home, Sound, Hibetap, Sound, the side door, Churro, the Sanchoks have gone there. That job don't go to Sanchoks, so choose somebody near job worried. Got you down these check worried, Dame Baton worried. That reasonably chatting metal. Sound round him and metal on the one chip of the metal on the inside the one to two things at the down sound, member tap, such of some more. This is a million on the tower already. There were one chip on the chip of the armor. One chip was the gentle thing, simply don't touch about the gave him a touch, but there's something one chip was the goal. There's a telegraph, a she on the left, you're going. Don't simply something going. 내부 민주주의 같은 민주를 시작하려 하면 시당 그 다시 특기용은 남과 사집이 따와가 내내서 하고서 오호 이는 다sem지는 랑랑 세발이 차 다지 님이에나 랑 차랑 소나 차들 뭘 프리셈지를 제가 랑랑 피게 하고 또 프리셈지 걸 대봐도 프리셈지 걸 다지 님이가 차고래 또나 대리 조금 무슨 자배양 뭐라 배우래 사지 좀 중학교 때
So it is said that regarding the Buddha emanations, the Buddhas are the embodiments of the three kayas. So once one attains the state of enlightenment, one merges with the Dharmakaya space. For example, when a Lama attains enlightenment in the Dharmakaya, his mind becomes one with all the Buddhas, like merging with space. And then out of great compassion arise the Sambhogakayas, just like clouds or rainbows in the sky. And there is an appearance of limitless Pure Lands and Sambhogakaya forms that actually appear. The Dharmakaya and Sambhogakayas are the pure aspects. The Nirmanakayas appear also in together, coexisting together with impure sentient beings in order to tame sentient beings. So in the sentient beings of the 6 realms of samsara, mainly wander in samsara due to ignorance, and depending on their individual karmas, they take birth anywhere in the 6 realms of samsara. And in all of these places, in all of these worlds, Nirmanakayas appear in the bodies of those beings. For example, in the form of a human being or an animal. Or for example, at the time when the Buddha Shakyamuni turned the wheel of Dharma, then Nirmanakayas also appeared in the form of his retinue, like Manjushri. At that time, Manjushri appeared as the Buddha's disciple. At that time, the Buddha had 8 bodhisattvas, his 8 close sons, who appeared in the form of human beings in the manner of receiving his teachings. For example, there were Manjushri, Chandresik, or Vajrapani, amongst tens and thousands of Shravakas, different and Arhats and so forth. So these 8 great sons, these bodhisattvas like Vajrapani, actually were said to be those who secretly also had realized the view of secret mantra. So they appeared in the manner of receiving the Buddha's teachings, although their mind was one with the Buddha's mind. And then through this interaction of the Buddha teaching them and they listening to the teaching, as a result of this auspicious interdependence, many more sentient beings benefited from that and found liberation. For example, nowadays also in this world, beings like His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, have appeared in this world. And he really is like a Buddha. And many beings are able to benefit from his teachings. On a larger scale, on a smaller scale, for example, you have even just a very small Dharma center. And then you have the spiritual teacher of that center, and the sponsors and so on, and those who run the organization and so on. All of them are like the emanation of the Buddha and the bodhisattvas who appear to ripen and liberate many sentient beings. So actually the nirmana kayas really pervade the 6 realms of samsara, and temporarily ripen those sentient beings whose mind is unripe. So it is just like the seed of a flower that is within their mind that needs to be ripened. So first when we enter the path, we are introduced to the qualities that are already contained within that seed, and that these qualities can flourish, they can grow into a perfect flower. And so, for example, when we receive an empowerment, like maybe a smaller, shorter empowerment, it is like we are being introduced to that seed, and then we are being told that if you plant it into fertile soil and water it, it will grow, it will ripen. Therefore, you should take refuge and you should cultivate bodhicitta. You need to eliminate self-grasping. You need to see selflessness.
and 신제 저기 다그 로주 나는 라비라 망보 요래 로주 가시는 옷이 이제 좀 담비는 터치 드리지 메세 시다테라서 망보체 되고 로주는 요래 제 삼시 잡고 들으려 제 연구 요래디 더 제차들 찾긴 참고 생적 상황이 사지 때마시고 생기 탐지 대신 줘봐 생기 탐지는 노생미생 단 잡을 독생당 들이든 잡을는데 왔다는 줄 미요래 대삼지 랭이 봐 유는 못 사되나 이것도 독도 로래 대삼지 라지 거기 모낭이 또도 봐 도래 거기 싫어대 요래대 그 랭이 뭐 유체 들지와들 거기 체부로지 요래대 라지가 또 그러면 이제 저기가 세고서는 그 랭이만 me나 자기지 마타로서 세야 요 말이야 또 생각해야 뭐 제대로 그냥 꼭 책이 모남로 또부터 가서 세로 요리 됐다는 봐요. 됐다 답변 어쨌든 말하기 되는 터치 같이 신지 다 사면 그래서 딱 메시지에서 사태면 집이 말이 밖에 터도 됐다 메시지를 되게 대로 내가 망보지 또 어떤 미사말 또 어떤 인자 보는 들로 망보요를 메카시게 왕사치 보통 그런 보라로 왔다 소남사테 만나러 왔다 버스 잡으려고 하는 미사마도 보다 미만 보세 타봐 됐다고 연구를 대 주진 레르스는 제가고 연구 대해서 랭이 주제 맨날 사지 좀 되게 총광 앞자 소자 버체도 누구나 동지세 말이 이제 상지 양 상지요 말때 고 사직습지 가지고 배대했다거든 명압자 신아 코디 남이 되게 탁탁고 요말 이런 정보는 소동 그래 그리고 코들이 코쪽 세상에 코이 양자지 랭이만 마사야자 멀리 톡톡거려 총방압자지 쏘고 좀나 그리고 나디 이와주고 배대에서 산속서 배대에서 트레 제정하다래 대서 고스타면 다 같은 데 상황에서 지켜요 말 저체가 되게 내가 다고 말죠 고소라비 랭이 받을 수 있는 그 주의의 체험을 받칠 수 있었고 self-sure 고소를 팽기요래 비슷했다 그랬지.
And so actually there is no great difference between a longer or a shorter empowerment, but sometimes the longer empowerment is also given by a very some important spiritual teachers, and also as a way to perform the 4 enlightened activities in those longer empowerments. But basically, in brief, now regarding the wrathful enlightened activity, it is just like a forceful medical treatment that comes out of love and compassion. And within Buddhism, there is no killing and slaying that comes out of hatred or enemy. It comes from within a place of non-duality and a wish to benefit. And if you have a wish to benefit others, then naturally you will begin to realize non-duality. So regarding the Yamantaka history, there in that history are a lot of accounts on how black magic and sorcery is being practiced, and if one hears that, one might misunderstand and think that, oh, Yamantaka practice is in order to cast spells and practice black magic, and then somebody dies and there is black magic war and so forth. So that is all a way to misunderstand that, actually, to understand the wrathful activities. Actually, it is said that only enemies that have the 10 grounds complete, only those can actually be slain or annihilated with wrathful means. For example, there are those beings who destroy the Buddha's teachings or who greatly harm sentient beings with an evil intention. For example, we can see it also in this world nowadays. Many people engage in a lot of destructive and harmful activity with evil aspirations. And then if one lets them, allows them to engage in these actions, often things only get worse. Then in that case, in terms of those wrathful activities, the wrathful activities through slaying bring an end to the accumulation of such negative karma. And so that is what is meant with slaying them. But if those 10 grounds, those 10 causes are not complete within an individual, then it's also not suitable to slay or kill them. For example, we hear about the story of Milarepa, for instance, who has also actually caused a lot of destruction with black magic. So then when one only looks at that, one might just say he's a murderer, for example. Or we may see the same thing in the Yamantaka history. So there are a lot of people in this world who engage in various activities to hurt and harm others. They hold great power and then have a selfish intention, a corrupt motivation, and then go about causing a lot of destruction, having the power to kill a lot of people in this world. And so these activities are being actually interrupted through the wrathful enlightened activity. So, for example, there was this story about a previous incarnation of the Buddha that was before he attained enlightenment, when he was actually a bodhisattva. And at that time, he actually decided to kill one evil person who intended to kill another 500 people, merchants, who also were bodhisattvas. So the Buddha, who was a bodhisattva at that time, decided to kill that one person in order to save the lives of those 500 merchants. Because he knew that if that person were to kill those 500 merchants, then he would fall into the lower realms for a very long time and would never become liberated. So if the Buddha, at that time, the Bodhisattva killed that one person, he knew that this was negative, but it would still not be as bad as allowing that evil person to kill 500 other people. So he killed him. And that is also, for example, an example of a wrathful, enlightened activity. So the crucial point in that activity really is in the motivation. In the wrathful enlightened activity, there is never a motive of self-interest whatsoever. It is only, the intention is only to benefit others, regardless of what will happen to oneself. And so this is also how we should not misunderstand those stories about sorcery and black magic and so forth, because often these wrathful activities are being performed to interrupt the accumulation of negative karma of extremely evil-minded sentient beings. And in that way, actually, it in the long run benefits those individuals.
산지가 지금 습지 탑지 습지 산지 저기 습지 산지 요 세대 처지 첫상마지 산지라고 그래. 묘마진 저기 습지래지. 되는 랑그 샘의 용선 떨어지. 묘마지 다지니 묘모 파장선은 첫동은 첫축발에 대고 좋다 참치는 와사죠 요도데 나디의 유모가 상마서서 들시의 상계에서 대하고는들이 다와 탐치 되는데 그래.
So actually, ultimately, the mind of Buddhas and sentient beings is one. And that mind, the mind of the Buddhas, is like completely pure water. And when the water becomes defiled or polluted, that is the mind of sentient beings. So the Buddha had said, completely tame your own mind. That means purify your mind, just like purifying water. What pollutes, what defiles the mind is self-grasping. That needs to be purified. And that's really the whole purpose of all various methods of Buddhist practice. All various Buddhist practices are only for the sake of cleansing, of purifying the afflictive emotions and self-grasping from our mind. And when the mind becomes completely pure of these, then that mind itself, in its natural state, is the Buddha. So if you understand this, then actually you have understood the entirety of the Buddhist view.
Aus der Perspektive der Dummheit ist da irgendjemand außen, dem man einen Schaden zufügen, vermeintlich einen Schaden zufügen kann. Und haben wir dies begriffen, dass im Kern kein Unterschied zwischen Ich und anderem ist, ist alles, ist die reine Sichtweise möglich, und das ist sozusagen die Keimzelle für das Verstehen. Man könnte sagen, alle Art von Einsicht sind darin enthalten. Und das gab es vorhin noch zu sagen, und die Einführung da rein, dass dies unsere Grundnatur ist und dass wir auf diese Weise frei werden können, das ist das, was man als Abhisheka oder als Einweihung bezeichnet, indem man Menschen die Gelegenheit gibt, einen Einblick in ihre Grundnatur zu gewinnen. Und sagt, hier, das ist deine Grundnatur, das ist wie ein Samen, ein Keim. Wenn du den weiter näherst, wie eine Blume, wo man Blumensamen in eine gute Erde legt und dann Wasser und so weiter, Wärme dazu gibt, und dann wächst daraus eine gute Pflanze. Das ist dann deine eigentliche Grundnatur. Und nimm dich dieses Keims, dieses Samens an, dann wird aus dir Großartiges entstehen. Deswegen werden auch die ganzen Unterweisungen des Buddha als die reifenden und befreienden bezeichnet. Das, was heranreifen lässt, ist ein Abhisheka. Es macht uns vertraut mit dieser Grundnatur, sodass wir die Fähigkeit in uns wachsen lassen können. Dann, wenn dann von großem Abhisheka geredet wird, im Gegensatz zu einem kleinen, dann ist das kleine Abhisheka das, was uns mit dem Samen vertraut macht und wie man ihn nähren könnte. Und ein großer Abhisheka ist nichts anderes, als wo man dann noch sagt, gut, wenn das ranwächst, dann entsteht eine solche Blume, und die hat so viele Eigenschaften und all die verschiedenen Qualitäten dieses, was heranreifen kann, ein guter Erwachen in uns nochmal zu verdeutlichen und darin einzuführen. Deswegen müssen Lehrer immer wieder auch einen großen Abhisheka gewähren, weil dann die Qualitäten des Erwachens, einschließlich der verschiedenen Arten von Buddha-Aktivität, die damit verbunden ist, die besänftigende, die nährende, die einflussnehmende und die heftige und so weiter, alle diese Qualitäten müssen von Zeit zu Zeit mal deutlich klargestellt werden. Aber im Kern geht es um diese Einsicht. Niemals ist da ein Unterschied zwischen Ich und anderen, und alles andere ein Missverständnis.
왕기solmen 리파에 보사 나는 다들 벽도 탈모리 벽요래 그래서 졸라마다 리파에 보사 고가비요래 이는 왕니 바치래 그래서 바닥에 특제 가지를 배워.
So in the meantime, in the break time, you can continue to recite the Om Vanki Ishvari Mom mantra. You want to really take the opportunity that you have now to practice, since many of you came from far away. And if you recite this mantra before the empowerment, then the empowerment will be even more powerful. And again, I'm very grateful to you, and thank you very much for coming.
Om Vakishorama, Om Vakishorama, Om Vakishorama, Om Vakishorama.
You need to say something. You need to say something. Wasser, wunderbar Wasser. Nächste Tür. Danke sehr.
Vagishvarimum. Es geht am Nachmittag weiter um 15:30 Uhr und wir bitten euch, hier schon ungefähr 2:45 da zu sein, um das Wasser von der Bumpa zu bekommen. So the next session we have 3:30 p.m. But please be here something like 2:45 because of taking the water from the Bumpa. Okay, see you later. Thank you.